What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to the 860th edition of TSR Live, your daily dose of toxic masculinity, misogyny, and small dick energy. I'm sure I'll remember the other ones here soon enough. But we're going to start doing things a little bit differently here. Instead of all of the usual mumbo jumbo, we are going to get right into it. And bear with me here. I'm a first timer at this, and I think I can make this work. Complacency in any context is something of a dirty word these days. It has a negative connotation when used. Don't get complacent, people say to each other. When in actuality, they simply mean don't let up, keep pushing, don't rest on your laurels. Men and women alike would agree that complacency breeds lethargy, apathy, and a lackadaisical attitude. This is 561% true, and it applies to just about any situation in life you can think of. If a prize fighter wins a title fight after years and years of hard work and doing what it takes to become the champion, he runs the risk of becoming complacent. He might not train as long or train as hard as he used to. He might not pay attention to detail like he did before he won the belt, and he could slack off a little on the heavy bag. I mean, the pitfalls are endless. The movie Rocky III illustrates this perfectly. After Balboa defeated Apollo Creed to become the heavyweight champion of the world, his life completely changed for the better, or at least it did outside the ring. But even though Rocky had 10 consecutive title defenses, his trainer recognized that he wasn't the same fighter as he was 3 short years ago and verbalized as much. Take a look.
And he's hungry. Hell, you ain't been hungry since you won that belt. But then, the worst thing happened to you that could happen to any fighter. You got civilized.
Balboa goes against Mickey's advice and accepts Clubber Lang's challenge, and this is what happened. But when Balboa, with the help of Creed himself, went back to his roots and trained with the conviction he used to train with, he won the belt back. If player X has the season of his life and is rewarded with a record-breaking contract, that too has the potential to make him complacent. He may not practice quite as frequently, he may spend less time in the weight room, and so forth. If an employee is always told they're doing a great job and that they are instrumental to the success of the company, that employee may get lazy. He may not focus as much. He may not pay attention to detail like he did when he first started with the company. You get the picture. Now, complacency also affects dating and relationships, and it usually goes a little something like this. Guy meets a girl, they start dating, they get comfortable with each other, and before you know it, they're both overweight, not having as much bedroom fun, and don't really work at keeping the quality of their relationship where it needs to be. When and if the breakup happens, when and if they break up, they'll both look back and realize that they both got lazy because they both got complacent. They lost the motivation to be their best to each other. But here's where the path for men and women within the context of relationships tend to diverge. Men of value are far less likely to embrace complacency than women. So now the question becomes, why do we as men do our level best to avoid complacency while women do their best to achieve it? Why do men and women look at complacency differently? Well, the first reason is that we're different, obviously. Men and women view and react to different situations very differently. That's the first obvious answer. The second answer is a little more involved, and let me explain. You see, a man knows that if he allows his complacency to affect him negatively, every part of his life begins to suffer. His fitness level, his drive, his discipline, the quality of his work, his finances, and so forth. Everything suffers. Now, part of the reason complacency stunts the growth of a man is that the world is unforgiving to men who are unmotivated and undisciplined. A man who does not embrace the masculine burden of performance will be left behind in every part of his life. His job, his dating life, his opportunities, everything. If we get lazy at work, we lose our jobs. If we are undisciplined and unmotivated, opportunities will pass us by. And if we allow ourselves to slip in our relationships, we get replaced. Using myself as an example, if I get fat, lose my drive to succeed, start feeling sorry for myself, and fail to hold myself to a high standard, Devin is going to leave, as she should. She is not required to stick around if I get complacent and stop doing and being the things that attracted her to me in the first place. She's got every right to upgrade if I downgrade without showing the resolve to get back to where I was. Everything around men here in 2022 is designed to punish us if we're not on our game. The natural order of things rewards men who strive to be exceptional and punish men who don't make an effort at all. The men who are competitive and always look for new ways to improve themselves tend to live much better lives than the men who don't. A man who still lives with his parents, masturbates to spicy movies, plays video games, and has no desire to improve his station in life will be punished by life. That's just the way things are for men. Women, on the other hand, live a very different existence when they get complacent. Regardless of value, a lazy woman gets excuses made for her. She doesn't suffer. If she's overweight and unmotivated to do little else but sleep around, not only is she not punished by society, she is actually praised. "You're a woman. That's amazing enough," she hears day in and day out. If her job performance suffers because of her laziness, she gets to keep her job because she told her boss she's, quote, going through a lot right now. If she's overweight and doesn't watch her diet, or goes to the gym or work out, she's told that men should love her no matter what and no matter how big she is. She's told that she is gorgeous and that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. If a girl gains 40 pounds in 6 months, her boyfriend should stick around because he needs to love her, quote, heart and mind, rather than being a shallow, misogynistic, toxic douchebag who only sees her as an object. Everything around women in 2022 is designed to reward them for no other reason but that they're women. The unnatural order of things that are constructed are to reward women who are shockingly below average, especially in relationships. The best behavior that most husbands will ever see out of their wives is the period of time leading up to his proposal. If a woman knows, or at the very least suspects, that her boyfriend is going to propose, or if she hears that he's thinking about buying a ring, she is on her very best behavior. She's kind, she's attentive, she's feminine, she follows his lead, she's romantically open and available, she's the perfect girlfriend. Until, of course, she gets that ring and becomes his fiancé. Because the minute he puts that ring on her finger, she drops the charade. She'll go right back to being the cranky, neurotic, complaining, hard-to-please banshee she truly is. And this is before they even exchange vows. 99.9% of men who experience this don't punish this behavior. No, they actually reward it by following through and marrying her anyway. Then, 6 months later, they're blowing up my inbox asking me, why does my wife not respect me? Why is she giving me attitude? Why is she not having sex with me? We're supposed to be newlyweds in the first throes of the honeymoon phase, so what's the problem? The problem is that she knows you're not going anywhere. At least not without being legally authorized to take more than her pound of flesh should you decide to divorce her. Because if you do, she is automatically entitled to half of your present and future earnings, along with your assets, tangible or otherwise, your pension, your 401k, or anything else that keeps you financially secure. And if down the road she has your children, assuming they're biologically yours, which is a valid concern, what with the way women conduct themselves sexually, whether they're in relationships or not, you'll be even worse off. So the short answer to that question is that a modern woman who is legally tied to you in the form of holy matrimony will never be as fit, feminine, and friendly as a woman who is not. This is a situation most men find themselves in with their wives. And this is the reason that marriage is bad for relationships. Let me repeat that. Marriage is bad for relationships, and that's for both men and women. And I'll use a sports analogy to explain. You see, there's a reason why professional football players are far more likely to play through an injury than pro baseball or basketball players are. And that reason is that Major League Baseball and NBA contracts are fully guaranteed. If player X signs a $100 million contract that is fully guaranteed, and player Y signs a $100 million contract that is not fully guaranteed, player Y has more of an incentive to stay on the field. Most people who aren't sports fans probably don't realize that football players in the NFL are only paid when they play. If they are not on the field come Sunday, they are not getting that direct deposit comes Tuesday. This, among other things, incentivizes football players to play through injuries, from the average aches and pains that come with the daily grind of playing a contact sport for a living, to serious injuries that would sideline the average person from doing much of anything. NFL guys routinely do what's necessary to get and stay on the field because their livelihood quite literally depends on it. Baseball players can get paid regardless of how many games they miss. Absent being charged with a serious crime, teams are obligated to uphold their end of the contract no matter what. So when we put professional athletes in different sports leagues in the same scenarios, Baseball and basketball players appear to have a much lower pain tolerance than NFL players do as a matter of financial survival and solvency. Why would an NBA superstar play on an ankle sprain when he knows he's getting paid no matter what? Why would a baseball pitcher take the mound with elbow pain when he knows that direct deposit is going to hit even if he takes himself out of the game? The correct answer is that they wouldn't, and that guaranteed contract is the reason. Now, this doesn't make them bad people. Anyone who becomes a professional athlete is far from lazy or soft. This is simply human nature at work. Oh, wait a minute. There we are. This is simply human nature, at work. You see, we as humans are designed for self-preservation. It is not the human condition to purposely put oneself in danger if there's no need to. So while we can call baseball and basketball players lazy for sitting out games for what appear to be minor injuries, the fully guaranteed contracts are the real catalysts in terms of their decisions to take games off. The marriage contract, ladies and gentlemen, works exactly the same way as the fully guaranteed contract in professional sports. And both people, the bride and the groom, suffer because of it. They suffer in different ways and to varying degrees, but marriage as we know it here in 2022 is a net negative for both men and women. Successful relationships require both investment and sacrifice from both parties. It has been this way since the beginning of time. And if one or both parties are unwilling to do what's necessary to keep a relationship stable and healthy by investing and sacrificing, the relationship is doomed to fail. And there is no better example that illustrates this more perfectly than comparing the average wife to the average girlfriend. And when we compare the two side by side as a collective, it becomes perfectly clear that marriage is indeed bad for relationships. Let's take a look at fitness. The average girlfriend is in far better shape than the average wife. Today's American wives, as a collective, are overweight. She doesn't have a reason to get and stay into shape. And why would she? She has all of the leverage in the marriage, and that leverage is fully ensured by the broken family court system. As soon as Western women walk down the aisle, say their vows, and sign that marriage certificate, they rush over and eat as much wedding cake as their stomachs can handle. She's not worried about fitting into her wedding gown anymore because, well, the deed has already been done. She has absolutely zero incentive to stay sexually attractive to the man who vowed to provide for and protect her. In the same vein, the average wife doesn't make an effort to look good for her husband. In fact, wives give their husbands sloppy seconds in terms of self-care. Let me explain. When wives are out at work, their hair is done, their makeup is on point, they're wearing perfume, high heels, and even showing cleavage. And keep in mind, this is for the people who have no obligation to her other than to work with her. But what's the first thing she does when she gets home? She puts her hair in a bun, wipes the makeup off, puts on her glasses, takes off the heels, puts on house slippers, and pours herself into a pair of sweats and a baggy t-shirt. The average wife simply cannot be bothered to make herself attractive to the man who provides for and protects her. But she makes an effort to look good for people who haven't invested anything in her outside of the cordial conversations at the water cooler about their boring lives. That was Walter. There are so many men who routinely get the sloppy seconds of their wives' coworkers and don't even realize it. Now, girlfriends, on the other hand, are very different. You see, the average girlfriend makes a concerted effort and deliberate effort to look good for her man. Yes, she'll get dressed up for work. That's a given, as she probably wants to be presentable for her colleagues. But the effort she puts into her appearance doesn't lessen around her boyfriend. It escalates. The average girlfriend will dress up for her man. The average girlfriend wears sexy panties for her man, sexy tops, sexy skirts, whatever her man likes. Girlfriends make an effort to be as sexually attractive to their men as they possibly can. Why? Because if she doesn't, her boyfriend will replace her with a woman that does, especially if she is aware that her boyfriend has options. Do you think the average American wife would go to the trouble of wearing lingerie for their husbands? Do you think American wives come home after work, freshen up their makeup, and redo their hair for their husbands? Do you think the average American wife would even wear uncomfortable panties for even a little while in an effort to look sexy for their husbands outside of trying to manipulate them for something? Empirical data and simple observation gives us the obvious answer. Now, my girlfriend routinely makes an incredible effort to not only look good all the time, but she goes above and beyond when it comes to the bedroom. Now, during the day, Devin's wardrobe usually consists of a sexy midriff that shows off her surgically enhanced large perky breasts and highlights her flat stomach, which is adorned by her navel piercings. She finishes off the look by wearing a schoolgirl-type skirt that shows off her sexy, toned legs. Her hair is always done, and her makeup is always on point. And when it's sexy time, it's hoops, heels, and red lipstick. Only. But if Devin were my wife, this would not be happening. Again, that wouldn't make her a bad person, just an unmotivated wife. Let's take a look at the way they act. The average Western wife behaves poorly, acts bitchy, complains, and withholds sex for any reason or no reason at all. And when she does decide to give you some action, she's just doing it to shut you up, which means you're getting the starfish treatment. Further, American wives are ridiculously selfish in bed. They have no interest in making an effort to provide a pleasurable experience for their husbands. As far as they're concerned, sex is a chore, and most of the time, they stop having sex with their husbands altogether down the road anyway. Girlfriends behave much better. You see, the average girlfriend is better behaved, less bitchy, complains a lot less, and gives up the butt anytime her husband wants it. She doesn't offer up excuses like, I have a headache or I'm just not in the mood. They soldier up and do what needs to be done. This is where the concept of investment and sacrifice comes to the forefront, as Walter continues to try to catch my gerbil. Yes, there are times when women are not in the mood for sex, but the difference between girlfriends and wives is that girlfriends will give their significant other sex even when they don't particularly feel like it, whereas wives snap their legs shut for whatever reason they decide to. Sex with the average girlfriend is also much better, as she does her very best to make sure you have the most enjoyable experience that she can provide for you. Whether it's frequent action, roleplay, lingerie, BDSM, you name it, the girlfriend is down for whatever. Why? Because she understands that sex is important to you, and if it's important to you, it's important to her. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry about that. This is a huge difference from the mentality of the average American wife as far as the bedroom is concerned. Again, using my girlfriend as the example, as I continue to be distracted by my cat and my gerbil, she represents me very well in public. She doesn't give me attitude, and she's genuinely pleasant to be around. Now, anyone who attended the CME this past May, let me run that back. Anyone who attended the CME this past May got to witness her feminine, graceful, and friendly disposition firsthand. She also takes great care of me between the sheets whenever, wherever, and however I want. But again, if Devin and I weren't married, she'd be much less motivated to be a good representation of me as a man, much less give me the butt on command. There are many more examples that highlight the clear and present differences between wives and girlfriends. But the big three, fit, feminine, and friendly, is where the institution of marriage as we know it is detrimental to relationships. And the proof is all around us, gentlemen. Just take a look around you. If you spot a ring on a woman's finger, she is far more likely to be overweight than a woman who doesn't have a wedding ring. Then, if you think back on your observations and interactions with husbands and wives, it is very easy to remember that wives are routinely disrespectful, irreverent, and outright nasty to their husbands. This kind of behavior doesn't happen nearly as frequently when there is no paperwork legally binding the two of you. This isn't to say that there aren't overweight, bitchy girlfriends out there who are out of pocket and unpleasant to be around. Quarrelsome girlfriends absolutely do exist, make no mistake. But don't kid yourselves. Girlfriends are far more motivated to be good to you than wives are, and the main reason is marriage. Holy matrimony in its current state is designed to de-incentivize good behavior at best and incentivize bad behavior at worst. Is there any doubt as to why more and more men are refraining from walking down the aisle? Now, most of us have seen the famous wedding cake topper with the bride dragging the groom down the aisle. And while we all laugh and chuckle, this cake topper encapsulates and simultaneously prognosticates Western marriage. The reason modern women appear desperate to get a man to sign his life over to her via the state is because the moment she signs his name, she knows she can let herself go. She knows she doesn't have to watch her diet closely. She knows that she doesn't have to pay as much attention to his needs anymore. And most of all, she knows the state will award her cash and prizes if and when she decides to detonate her marriage for whatever reason she's fit under the guise of, quote, irreconcilable differences thanks to the advent of no-fault divorce. In this context, the difference in mindset between a guy in the NFL compared to a guy in the NBA is apropos. NBA player X will inherently make less of an effort to stay on the field as NFL player Y. The NBA player knows he's getting his money, so he is less incentivized to stay on the field in the event of an injury. This isn't to say or suggest that basketball players or baseball players are lazy and unmotivated. Nothing could be further from the truth. Like I said before, any man who is a professional athlete would not be where they are if they were lazy and unmotivated. But the stark contrast between the mentality of the average player in the NFL and the average player in the NBA, as far as availability is concerned, is constantly on display. The very best example I can think of in this regard is when Brooklyn Nets guard Ben Simmons decided he didn't want to play for the 76ers anymore. Now, wanting to move on is perfectly normal in this day and age. Not every franchise is right for every player. Sometimes a team and a player just have to go their separate ways. That's just a necessary part of life. But the way Simmons forced his way out of Philadelphia highlights exactly why marriage is bad for relationships. And stay with me here, guys, because I'm going to explain why. When Simmons decided he didn't want to play in Philadelphia anymore, he simply stopped showing up to the team facility. Not only that, he cut off all contact with the 76ers team management and front office personnel. Rather than fulfilling his contractual obligation to the team, he just didn't show up and went radio silent. His first excuse was his mental health, but when the Sixers told him they would help him with his mental health, he still was absent from the team facility. His next excuse was a conflict between team doctors in terms of how they were dealing with a particular injury he had. If it wasn't one thing, it was another, and before long, it became obvious to all involved that Simmons wanted out. After a while, reports began surfacing about a rift between him and Joel Embiid, the team's best player. That led to reported conflicts with the front office, which led to a daily media firestorm on whether or not Simmons would return to the Sixers or if he would be traded. Well, last October, the 76ers front office finally decided to suspend Simmons for one game for conduct detrimental to the team. It took him that long to flex their muscle, but it was pointless. It was clear that Simmons had made up his mind to never set foot at the 76ers team facility again. Now, at this point, the team was entertaining trade offers from around the NBA. There were plenty of teams interested in acquiring his services, so finding another trade partner didn't really take that long. The Nets offered the 76ers the best package, which included James Harden, so Simmons was shipped to Brooklyn. And surprise, surprise, he hasn't suited up for his new team once since he's been traded. Gentlemen, this almost never happens in the NFL. Oh, well, that's not good. All right, hang on. Okay, yeah, that was definitely Walter. Well, this is why I got to keep my cat out of the studio. Hang on, guys. I'm still here. Oh, fucking hell. Get out of here. God damn it. Get. Oh, man. Get. All right, let's try this again. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Give me a second here, guys. There we go. Jesus Christ. Things were on point until and this was my fault. I forgot to kick Walter out. But what Walter just did, so he's trying to get at my gerbil, couldn't get my gerbil, so he jumps down onto the table, jumps onto the jumps onto my camera slider and noses the he noses my phone. So now all of a sudden the camera feed goes out. Ay. Listen, man, this is what happens when you have wait a minute. This is what happens when you have this is what happens when mammals end up living with you. At any rate, let me see where I was. Hang on a second, guys. Nope. All right, perfect. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. All right, take two. Gentlemen, this almost never happens in the NFL. Now, this doesn't mean football players don't regularly hold out during contract disputes, but these holdouts almost never rise to the level of the Ben Simmons fiasco, as NFL players are fined heavily for being absent. This works as an effective deterrent for any player who wishes to take the Ben Simmons route. Ben Simmons would not have pulled these shenanigans if he were a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? Because as I stated before, NFL contracts are non-guaranteed. The only reason why Simmons got away with breaking his contractual obligation to the Sixers without suffering a significant financial loss is because his contract is fully guaranteed. And this is exactly how it relates to the institution of marriage here in 2022. Women are routinely disagreeable, unpleasant, and selfish, while girlfriends are far more pleasant, accommodating, and agreeable. And the only thing that separates the two is that marriage license. A marriage license completely snuffs out any motivation a woman has to be a good woman, because that particular contract incentivizes bad behavior. But even more importantly, a marriage license gives something to a woman that they are ill-equipped to handle, and that is leverage. Women have absolutely no idea how poisonous the advantage of leverage is to them. Women who have leverage in a relationship are almost always poorly behaved because leverage is something most females have no idea how to use effectively. In relationships, leverage equals leadership whether we realize it or not. And as we all know, relationships led by women lead to disaster. I don't need studies or statistics to prove this. All I need are my own two eyes and common sense. And when we take a look around at relationships as a collective, it is very easy to see that they are failing miserably. The main reason relationships are circling the drain is because they are being led by women. Women, most notably wives, are given this leadership role by default as soon as her husband signs that marriage certificate. Yes, she may have every intention of following through with her wedding vows, which is to honor and obey her husband, stick with him through sickness and in health, or for richer or poorer. But in the deepest recesses of her mind, she knows that she doesn't have to stick to her wedding vows. In the back of her mind, she knows that she holds all the cards. She also knows that as soon as she pisses a plus sign, she as good as owns her husband, regardless of the child's paternity, no less. So when it comes to a wife's appearance, her physical fitness, her attitude, her agreeableness, or lack thereof, subconsciously, she knows she doesn't have to put in as much effort as she used to before she got the ring. And more often than not, American wives choose not to put in any effort at all. This again is why marriage is bad for relationships. Marriage gives women a reason to slack off. It gives them a reason to stop investing in the relationship and sacrificing for their men. The best way to cultivate and maintain a solid, healthy, long-term relationship is to avoid marriage at all costs. It is a bad idea for all involved, including women. Yes, getting divorced E-part is terrible for men. Let's get that right. But just because divorcees get the kids, the house, the dog, and half of his present and future earnings, doesn't mean she's won. In fact, it's quite literally the opposite. Why? Because men of value aren't committing to single mothers. They may smash them every once in a while, but there's no way a man with options would ever consider taking a woman in her mid to late 30s with 3 children seriously. Another downside is that her children will be fundamentally broken. Single mothers are responsible for most strippers and criminals running around. It's an open secret that fathers keep daughters off stripper poles and sons out of jail. Women also have to consider the fact that when their children get older and learn of their treachery, that could potentially drive a rift between them. I speak from personal experience. So while women throw divorce parties and appear to be having a great time by reliving their youth, drinking and getting passed around, in an honest moment, these women will admit that being a single mother is a miserable existence after a while. It's all fun and games immediately following the divorce, but it eventually takes its toll on her and her children. Marriage is bad for relationships, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't always like this, but it most certainly is now. And if you are in a relationship with an attractive person who loves and respects you, then it would behoove you to not completely ruin it by getting married. I read your super chats and close out the show right after this. We'll be back.
Understanding women and increasing your dating success starts with Donovan Sharpe's massive collection of award-winning books and courses. Get off to a fast start and jumpstart your masculine renaissance with the 49 Laws of Sharpe. The 49 Laws of Sharpe is the perfect quick start guide for any man new to this community looking for the answers that keep them up at night after a bad experience with a woman. So many men ask themselves, why did she cheat? How could I not see this coming? Why did I miss the signs? And how can I avoid this in the future? The 49 Laws of Sharpe will answer these questions and many more. This will give you a rock-solid foundation upon which to build, develop, and cultivate your newfound identity, and put you miles ahead of your competition. Most men have never had access to this valuable information, let alone understand and apply it. But the 49 Laws of Sharpe will give you an unfair advantage over men and women. This treasure trove of valuable knowledge is available in audio, video, ebook, and paperback. Next, supplement your newly acquired foundational knowledge, supercharge your dating life with Donovan's 25-hour course, How to Master the Game. How to Master the Game will teach you the ins and outs of the player life, overcoming approach anxiety, identifying women who you want to approach, text game, first date principles and logistics, avoiding the friend zone, and so much more will be covered extensively. Also included are the bonus podcasts that will cover how to dress, Tinder game, and much more. Put simply, How to Master the Game will turn you into a stone-cold assassin with the ladies. Available in video and audio format. If you're not the kind of guy who wants to live the bachelor life, or you've had your fill of the player life and are looking for something a little more fulfilling, How to Build a Quality Woman from the Ground Up is a must. Donovan's 5-part, 7-hour audio course will show you step-by-step how to find, cultivate, and sustain a solid, healthy relationship. Everything from selecting the right woman, to coaching and correction, to what to do between the sheets. How to Build a Quality Woman from the Ground Up will guide you through the entire process of building the kind of woman you want and need. The strategies and techniques in this course are exactly what Donovan does in his own relationship to this day. And he is living proof that women can be beneficial to men provided they have the right instruction. And finally, the ultimate weapon all men are looking for in terms of being able to read and understand women, Donovan Sharpe's revolutionary, one-of-a-kind course that has been called the cheat code, Womanese. Womanese is the first and only course of its kind that gives men the raw and honest truth about what women really mean when they communicate verbally. Womanese translates female communication with shocking accuracy and has changed the dating lives and relationships of men the world over. So many men have avoided disaster because of the preciseness and sheer volume of material in this course, which contains over 600 translations. How cool would it be to be able to see through a woman's BS and act accordingly right then and there, rather than getting blindsided when it's too late? What would it be like to have the ability to read a woman like a book based only on what she says? These abilities will be at your disposal with Womanese. Women won't be able to lie to you, cheat on you, deceive you, or take advantage of you. The time and money you'll save pays for the course almost immediately. Womanese is available in video, audio, ebook, and paperback format and can be purchased one volume at a time or all at once. Men in his community often state that the best investment a man can make is in himself. Donovan's extensive educational materials will take your life to the next level. And the only place you can get this life-changing knowledge is tsracademy.com. Link in description.
Well, apparently, I guess my camera went out. Man, I'll tell you what, dude. Production has been all kinds of jacked up today. Guys, I'm running a flash sale. It is today only. 55% off of my entire catalog. 55% off my entire catalog. So be sure to get over to tsracademy.com. Jesus fucking Christ. I got to tell you what, man. I probably worked harder on today's show than I have. What the fuck is still falling? Oh, yeah. This has just been this has been a, all right, I had to make sure my gerbil is still in the cage, but Jesus, dude, I haven't worked on an episode this hard in quite a while. And I thought I had everything. Locked down, but you know, when you have a Devon Rex cat in your midst, can make things a little bit tough to handle. I tried, man. I tried. I tried to get through it. I really tried to get to it, but you know, I just got to make sure Walter's up out of here before I get started. Otherwise, who knows? I don't know. Maybe things will be all right. Let me take a look at the chat here. All right, good stuff. Kyle 1 is in the house. Good to see you in here. Shane will win. Very, very nice. Ostrike wants to know if this is a call-in show. No. I'm gonna put call-in shows on the shelf for a little while. I'm trying to make the show a little bit more brief. Yeah, Ostrike says grade A B-roll. Yeah, I mean I had the B-roll. Like I think I can definitely perfect this technique. I've done the live monologue with the live B-roll before. I actually did it with Devin here in the studio, and it went okay. It went better than it did today. It went better than it did today, but I think that if I'm able to if I'm able to perfect this technique, maybe I'll do a couple more run-throughs. But, I think it went okay until, of course, it didn't. So, Ostrike says, how many people get to work on time a month after winning the lottery? Yeah, probably none of them. Ostrike with another $10 with a $10 super chat says, I don't recommend marriage to men, but people say there are no advantages. Your thoughts on marriage, 1, being a prerequisite for a career in upper management or politics, 2, providing stability for children. You don't need to be legally married to provide stability for children. You can go through all the pomp and circumstance of a marriage and then just not sign the marriage certificate, right? Like, dude, you could hire honestly, you could hire hell, man, you could make a big thing out of it. You can do the canopy and the cake and the chocolate fountain and all that good stuff. Dude, you can have the bridesmaids, the groomsmen. You can have everything there. You can literally do everything they do at a regular wedding. Just don't sign the paperwork. That's it. People will recognize you. People in public will recognize you as husband and wife without you having to sign any documents. And guess what? When your wife gets pregnant, then at that point they'll assume that, hey, they just decided to start a family and this is what they decided to do. No one's checking the Social Security Administration to make sure that, somebody's name matches their Social Security number if they even get it. Because again, the average person walking around could be married, but you'd never know unless they told you or you saw a wedding ring on their finger. And you assume that, and dude, people assume Devin and I are married because she wears a wedding ring. When we go places together, she wears a wedding ring everywhere. She's done that since we started dating. And the reason she does that is to keep guys away, keep guys from hitting on her. And so, that was actually her recommendation. I think dude, when we first started dating, I think she bought like this cheap cubic zirconia ring off Amazon. It was like $30. And she's been wearing it ever since. I think she may have changed it out. At some point in time. She probably needs to change out the one she has because that one's looking a little murky. But as far as it being a prerequisite for a career in upper management or politics, providing stability for children doesn't. Providing public stability doesn't. How can I put this? Providing stability doesn't require paperwork. Yeah, Ostrike says I would worry about common law marriages at that point if you had a public wedding. Yeah, this is the thing. It's no accident that I live here. It's no accident that so Devin did change it out. I guess hers is $45. It's no accident that I chose to live here in New Jersey instead of in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And as a matter of fact, I don't think there's common law marriage in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. There's also not common law marriage in the state of Nevada. And that is because I do not want to be legally tied to Devin, and I don't want her to be legally tied to me. Yes, there are risks that come with being in a cohabitating relationship with a woman. That's just, nothing is without risk, gentlemen. What you have to understand, what you guys have to understand is that relationships with women come with inherent risks, and for women, relationships with men also come with inherent risks. If the benefits outweigh the risks, if the risk or if the rewards outweigh the risk, then you take the risk. But by the same token, that doesn't mean that you don't do what you can to mitigate said risk. And the things that I do to mitigate my risk is to make sure that wherever Devin and I decide to live, which is going to be the state of Nevada, I did extensive research to make sure that no, common law marriage is not a thing in Nevada. So if you're worried about common law marriage, yeah, just, make sure the state that you live in doesn't recognize common law marriage, and you should be good to go. Devin and I, we've lived here since 2017. We've lived here for 5 years. We're not common law married. So, because there is no common law marriage in the state of New Jersey. So, okay, let me see here. Looks like you guys are having fun. Wow, you guys are having all kinds of fun in the chat, on the Sharpe stream chat. Good stuff. Very, very good, great episode, guys. Like I said, I'm gonna shorten these up a little bit because I think that I'm at my best. I think I'm at my best when I do monologues. I don't want to ramble on for too long. That, and I don't want to run into Fresh and Fit, who are probably going to be broadcasting here within the next few minutes or so. So that is going to do it for this, the 860th edition of TSR Live. Thank you guys very, very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.